Hello, just a quick warning. There are no curse words or explicit content in this episode of Zone of Action. However, there are references to sexual activity. This content may not be for young listeners.
There is an ocean of everything you want. Success, power, and the most satisfying relationships. It's all available and waiting for you. This is the Zone of Action with your host, Gerald Action Jackson.
Today, the subject of this podcast is success, sex, and the mindset that connects them. Success, sex, and the mindset that connects them. An exploration of discipline, energy, and inner mastery. Most people never stop to think about how closely success and sex are connected. They separate the two as if one belongs in the boardroom and the other behind closed doors. But anyone who studies high achievement, inner strength, and the psychology of power eventually discovers the truth. The relationship between success and sex is not physical. It is mental. It is energetic. It is rooted in discipline, clarity, and inner direction. Napoleon Hill hinted at it more than 80 years ago in his classic book, Think and Grow Rich, when he introduced one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal development, sex transmutation. At the time, the idea was too radical for most people. Even today, many still misinterpret it. But when you look at the work of modern authors like Mitch, Horowitz, Onwukwe, and Deida, you see a consistent, powerful message. Sexual energy is not just about pleasure. It is creative fuel. It is ambition. It is drive. It is the spark behind accomplishment, innovation, leadership, and resilience. This piece is a deep, engaging walk through that truth. Not through the myths or the rumors, but through the psychology, spirituality, and practicality of using sexual energy and personal discipline as tools for building a successful life. Not a life built on chaos and appetite, but on directed force, inner stability, and elevated thinking. Let's have a real conversation about it. Sexual energy is creative energy. Napoleon Hill wrote that sexual energy is the most powerful form of human energy. He described it as the same energy responsible for genius, creation, innovation, and bold action. Modern authors have expanded on that idea, explaining that sexual energy is simply life force. The same spark that creates a new idea is the same spark that creates a new life. In Mitch Horowitz's The Power of Sex Transmutation, he explains that sexual energy is not about celibacy or denial. It is about direction. You redirect raw desire into achievement. You channel passion into purpose. You turn impulse into intention. Onwukwe says in Sexual Energy Transmutation that every major breakthrough, every surge of ambition, every big move comes from the same deep place inside you that produces sexual desire. The difference between winners and those who waste their potential is simple. Winners learn to channel that energy upward. They convert it into power, confidence, creativity, and focus. Deida, in The Way of the Superior Man, goes even further. He argues that a man who cannot control his sexual impulses cannot control his life. He believes that mastery over one's sexuality is intertwined with mastery over one's purpose, work, mission, and emotional stability. According to Deida, men become stronger when they learn to hold their energy instead of leaking it. This concept is not about suppressing desire or becoming rigid. It is about becoming the authority of your inner world. It is about harnessing the most powerful force within you and using it to build, create, and elevate. This is the foundation of what Hill meant by transmutation, the mindset behind sexual power. Let's break it down simply. The mindset that leads to success is the same mindset that manages sexual energy well. It comes down to three things. 1, awareness. 2, discipline. 3, direction. When you understand your own impulses, where they come from, why they exist, and how to use them, you unlock a level of personal strength that most people never reach. Sexual desire becomes a signal, not a distraction. It tells you that there is energy in your body waiting to be used. It tells you that your drive is active, your passion is awake, your creativity is alive. But without discipline, the same energy can pull you into chaos. It can make you chase attention instead of purpose. It can steer you toward distraction instead of commitment. It can destroy relationships, careers, finances, and reputations. This is why the connection between success and sex is not physical. It is mental. It is about how you think, how you focus, and how you choose to operate. When your mind is disciplined, your sexual energy becomes an asset. When your mind is undisciplined, it becomes a liability. Successful people understand this. They know that their energy is valuable currency and they refuse to waste it. This is what separates the accomplished from the average. Why successful people often have strong sexual energy. You will notice something when you study leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, and creators. Many of them have a powerful inner drive that shows up both in their work and in their personal lives. That is not accidental. Sexual energy is tied to confidence, courage, ambition, emotional intensity, passion, fearlessness, creativity. These traits drive success. They also fuel desire. Simply put, highly energetic people often have strong sexuality because both come from the same internal fire. But here is the key. Successful people learn to channel their sexual fire into their mission. They do not let it control them. They do not let it pull them off track. They do not let it become a problem. Onwukwe shares that when sexual energy is not managed, it becomes compulsive. But when it is directed, it becomes genius. Deida explains that when a man learns to hold his sexual energy, he stands differently. He speaks differently. He moves differently. People feel his presence. They sense his purpose. They trust his leadership. They respond to his energy. This is not about ego or dominance. It is about internal alignment. When your inner world is balanced, powerful, and calm, you show up stronger in every area of your life. That is the real connection between success and sex. Not quantity, not conquest, not appetite, but mastery. The danger of undisciplined sexual energy. We have all seen talented people lose everything because they let their sexual impulses run wild. Hill warned about it in Think and Grow Rich. Deida warns about it in The Way of the Superior Man. Onwukwe warns about it through an energetic lens. When sexual energy is not disciplined, it becomes a distraction, a weakness, a doorway to temptation, a source of chaos, a threat to focus, a liability. The downfall always begins with the same pattern. Desire without discipline leads to actions without thought. Actions without thought lead to problems without solutions. Problems without solutions lead to broken trust, broken finances, and broken opportunities. Successful people are not immune to this. They simply learn to control it. They practice boundaries. They respect their energy. They choose their relationships carefully because they know the truth. One moment of undisciplined desire can undo a decade of hard work. This is why transmutation is so important. It gives the energy a destination, a mission, a purpose. Instead of letting the energy drain you, you let it drive you. Sexual energy as fuel for achievement. Let's talk about how to use sexual energy as fuel. The core idea of transmutation is simple. You take the natural force of desire and redirect it into work, channel it into creativity, convert it into discipline, focus it on achievement, and so transform it into motivation. When you do this consistently, you become sharper, more driven, more innovative, and more committed to your purpose. Mitch Horowitz explains that the most successful people often use their sexual energy as a form of internal voltage. It charges their ambition, it sharpens their thinking, it accelerates their growth. Napoleon Hill said that the greatest men in history were often highly sexually energized, but they harnessed that energy for something bigger than themselves. This is the part most people miss. Sexual energy is neutral. It is neither good nor bad. It becomes powerful or destructive based on how you use it. When you channel it correctly, it becomes momentum. When you mismanage it, it becomes chaos. The difference is discipline, relationships, purpose, and power. Deida writes about something profound. He says that a man must choose his purpose before he chooses pleasure. If he makes pleasure his priority, he weakens himself. But when his purpose comes first, his pleasure becomes stronger, deeper, and more meaningful. Purpose gives sexual energy direction. Discipline gives it structure. Mindset gives it intelligence. This is why successful men often prefer peaceful relationships. They cannot afford inner chaos. They cannot afford a partner who drains rather than supports. They cannot afford distractions that pull them off their mission. Sex becomes sacred when it aligns with purpose, not when it is used as escape. Onwukwe explains that sexual energy shared with the wrong person becomes diluted. Shared with the right person, it becomes amplified. It becomes mutual power. It becomes support. It becomes emotional stability. Sex becomes a tool for growth, not a tool for escape. The partner you choose determines whether your sexual energy stabilizes your life or destabilizes it. The discipline that creates freedom. True power is not in having sexual options. True power is in having options and choosing wisely. It is in controlling yourself when you could indulge. It is in being intentional when you could be impulsive. This is what separates the powerful from the reckless. This is what separates strength from weakness. This is what separates leaders from followers. Napoleon Hill believed that once a man learned to control his mind, he could control his destiny. Sexual energy is simply the final exam of self-mastery. If you can control your desire, you can control your habits. If you can control your habits, you can control your results. If you can control your results, you can control your future. The discipline you build in one area of your life transfers to every other area. This is the true meaning of transmutation. Your energy is your wealth. Every high achiever eventually learns one powerful truth. Energy is the real currency of success. Not money, not time, not resources, but energy. Sexual desire is one of the strongest forms of energy that humans possess. When you waste it, you weaken yourself. When you channel it, you strengthen yourself. When you mismanage it, you lose direction. When you master it, you gain clarity. This is why the relationship between sex and success is so important. Success does not come from physical pleasure. It comes from internal focus, emotional stability, unshakable discipline, and intelligent energy management. Sex becomes part of your success when it aligns with your purpose, your values, your growth, your spiritual maturity, your emotional clarity. It becomes part of your downfall when it aligns with impulse, distraction, ego woes, escape, unhealed trauma. Master your energy and you master your life. Ignore it and you sabotage your own progress. The superior mindset. David Deida's entire philosophy can be summarized in one line. A superior man directs his energy toward his mission, not toward his impulses. When you live this way, your work becomes stronger. Your relationships become healthier. Your decisions become wiser. Your confidence becomes unbreakable. Your purpose becomes undeniable. This is not about denying your sexuality. It is about elevating it. Napoleon Hill believed that sexual energy could turn a good man into a great one. Mitch Horowitz believes it can be a tool of spiritual transformation. Onwukwe believes it can unlock higher awareness and sharper creativity. All three are correct, because when you elevate your sexual energy, you elevate your identity. When you elevate your identity, you elevate your entire life. Remember, sex is not the enemy of success. Mismanagement is. Sex is not the problem. Desire is not the problem. Energy is not the problem. Lack of discipline is the problem. Lack of direction is the problem. Lack of purpose is the problem. The connection between success and sex is simply this. Sexual energy is human energy. Human energy is creative energy. Creative energy is success energy. When you channel it, you rise. When you waste it, you fall. When you master it, you evolve. When you misunderstand it, you repeat old patterns. Success is built on clarity, discipline, focus, emotional stability, and intelligent direction. Sex becomes part of that success when it is aligned with your mission and your growth. It becomes a barrier to success when it becomes impulsive, chaotic, or unrestrained. The real relationship between sex and success is not about behavior. It is about mastery. Mastery of mind, mastery of energy, mastery of discipline, mastery of purpose. When you learn to channel the deepest force within you, there is no goal too big, no dream too distant, and no destination out of reach. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter, JEROLDJAX, on Facebook, Gerald Action Jackson and Zone of Action. Check out the website, GeraldJackson.com. Happiness starts with you, not with your relationship, not with your job, not with your money, but with you in the zone of action.